Good morning. Good morning, jewelry makers. This is Tracy at TierraCast, and we are going to do a demo today. Actually, let me just pop back down to the other camera so you can see what we're going to be doing. We're going to be demoing, let's decrease the zoom on this a little bit too. We're going to be demoing some different ways to put some color on TierraCast cast pewter components. So I've got a few different examples, and we're going to be using a few different products. And we'll get started in just a minute, but just wanted to give it a couple of minutes to give people time to hop on and to see how all of you guys are doing today. It is a lovely summer day here in Santa Rosa. There's been some horrible, heat waves going on here in the west side of the country. And so we were hot over the weekend, but only like it got up into the 90s. It really wasn't that terrible. And we've had a little bit of our fog that, we're not far from San Francisco. We're about an hour away, and we get fog off the coast. And so that really cools things down in our area most of the time. So a typical summer, sorry, I'm watching some comments too. Hi, Motorcrafts. Hi, Patty Graham. Hi, Linda O'Coin. I don't know if I pronounced that right. And Julie is with us. She's my partner in crime here as usual. So she'll be piping in when questions come up and saying hello to people. And sort of a typical summer night for us is we don't usually have hot summer nights. We have cool, foggy nights. So anyway, that serious heat wave that's been happening hasn't been too bad for us. That doesn't mean it won't hit us later, but hopefully it's lessening now too. I heard on the radio this morning that a couple more days and it should be getting back to more normal temperatures. So hope anybody up in Washington and who's experiencing that is surviving okay. So let's see, anything else important I wanted to talk about before we start the demo. I do want to say that we'll be playing with several different things. We'll be playing with Christy Friesen's Swelligant products. We'll be working with some Gilder's paste, which is that's the first product I used to color metal. And it's kind of my go-to. It's a little bit my favorite. But I shouldn't say that so quickly. We'll also be using some, I'm looking over at my cart with all my different stuff on there. We'll also be using some Vintaj Patinas. Also, they're fabulous. We'll be using an ink-based coloring agent called Colorique. And this one, I don't think it's as well known. Maybe, got a little glare from that light. It's maybe a little more well-known in the craft world, not the jewelry world, but it's called Colorique, and it came to us, I think, through a CHA. Julie, was that right? Was it a CHA show? Yeah. I think that came to us from there a few years ago, and so it's a nice product too. We'll demo that, and then the last thing we'll demo is some Ranger's alcohol ink. So. Fun stuff. I'm going to switch the camera so we can just jump in.
I just saw it go blank on the screen on me.
Oh, let me see if I can fix that. Always little things to fix. I'm going to go back to my camera. Whoops, okay. I remembered how to fix that. So we should, Julie, you can pipe in and it shouldn't mess with our
testing.
dream.
1, 2, 3, testing. Looks like it works.
I need to, I have a whole little cheat sheet of steps and things to remember to do before our demos. And I need to add that one to it because that has been one that that's been popping up for us. All right, so coloring, so much potential. We have really had a good time over the years playing with different materials. So the first one I want to try for you guys is what we used on these earrings. which are not on the website, but I do think that I'll fix that sometime soon because it's a really beautiful design and it uses some fun techniques, including hole punching, which we've showed you guys before. So this particular round component is, I think we call it our hammer tone. I'm looking behind me at my wall, hammer tone disc. And it's got 2 holes in it, and I added more at the bottom. And then I used Christie's Swelligant on there, and I think I probably sealed it because I see that it's got a little bit of a gloss. Her Swelligant line does have a clear sealer, so I probably added some of that on there. And so it's a super fun design. I think I will try and get that on our website, but in the meantime, let's show you how it works. It does, I have found, work best on our copper components because, and she does recommend, she recommends what kind of metals it works best with. If you go and poke around on her website, you'll learn more about it, and probably she's got some much more knowledgeable demos to share. But it is a series of products that react to the metal and cause a reaction. And then there's other things you can do to enhance the colors. And we did find when we tested a few years ago that the copper worked best. I did put some on one of our brass components when I was testing it out yesterday. But our brass has a lacquer finish on it. So it just doesn't play well with the brass, but the copper, it does. Something that is notable about this is that it takes time to develop the patina. So you put it on and then you might leave it sit overnight or for a few hours, and then it'll start developing your color. So this one I just did this morning, earlier today, and I did a couple different layers, and you can see that it's just starting to do kind of an interesting green finish. I'm pretty sure it was this one, which looks bluer but turned greener. I'm going to try this one on this disc today. And I wanted to do this one first because it will take time to do its interesting stuff. And so I'm hoping that I do it now, and then by the time we're done with all of our other demos, it will be turning and looking interesting. And I did mean to reach out to Christy and tell her I was going to be playing with this on my demo today, and I forgot to. But if I had, maybe she could have popped in and answered questions and visited with us. So you can see that I'm using a Q-tip to apply this. And I'm being generous. It's a very liquidy kind of formula. And I'm puddling it a little bit here and there because I don't think it has to be a completely like even coat because I want it to have like some variation. So Christy really probably knows a whole lot more about this than I do. But that is how easy it is to work with these particular products, the patinas. They're very liquidy. They're very easy to apply with a Q-tip. This one is the dioxide, and it's also liquidy. And I just have to admit, I haven't played with this one as much, but I am going to put some on this other copper component, and we'll let it sit and see if it does anything interesting by the end of our demo. Again, it's very easy to put on. I am curious what will happen with this one because I don't remember specifically playing with this one. I must have, but I don't remember way back when. And again, I'm going to be generous and kind of just puddle that on there. And again, in case you're just coming in, this is what we're demoing right now is Christy Friesen's Swelligant products. They work best for us on our copper components. So what we need to do with this one is just set it aside and move on to our next product, and then come back and look at this one a little later. All right, so next is Gilder's Paste, which is by a company called Baroque Art, I believe. Pretty widely available out there. It is wonderful for using on metals. It is very much like a, if you haven't used it before, when you open one of these cans, you're gonna go, oh my God, it smells like shoe polish. And it does. And it's a very pasty kind of color and very rich. And we've used it on a lot of our products. Sorry, I'm looking around for the other examples. It tends to give a little bit more, you can thin it. I have always used acetone, and these cans will dry out. So sometimes you really do need to use acetone to thin it. I have heard of people using oil, but I'm not sure how that works with the final kind of effect. I'm not sure if that dries thoroughly. I have not tried it, but I'm going to use acetone to kind of soften these up a little bit and make them usable. They, I think I was saying and got sidetracked, is that it can be a little bit more of a rustic kind of effect. It's thicker. You can get it down into the crevices of whatever you're going to apply it to. So I'm going to start, I'm dipping my a cotton swab into a little bit of acetone so that I can get some onto this. I'm going to use one of our little tiny Dulce Vita hearts. And so I can go at this two ways. I can either really put it on there thickly and get it into all the little crevices. And then I can wipe it off of the top. So that's what I'm going to do with this first one. And I do usually, when I'm planning my demos, you guys, I make an effort to make sure my hands look decent. I clean my nails, I put some lotion on, but we're just going to get messy today. So again, I'm just kind of really putting a bunch on there. And then I wonder if I don't have another one of those hearts, but I do have another Dulce Vita part. I'm gonna show you guys too. And I think I started to mention also and got distracted is that it's a good idea to clean your parts before you use coloring on them. So you can use acetone to do that. Just give them a little wipe with acetone and then a little tiny rinse. Or you can wash them just like in a jewelry cleaner or soapy water kind of situation. So I just used some acetone and then dipped that in some water. And so instead of really getting into the crevices this time, well, oops, you know what? Let's do this first. I want to wipe some of this off the top of the one that I really piled it in there. But I want to take it off of the surface areas so that we can just see the red in the crevices. Sorry, I stopped talking because I just got kind of engrossed in what I was doing.
I feel like that's always the trick to put enough of the ink on and not wipe too much off, or get enough,
Right.
Finding that balance.
Right. Well, then you can see that it's kind of colored the top as well. I've wiped it off, but it's still on there. So now I'm dampening this with some acetone, not very much, but I'm just going to kind of use that on a cotton swab to wipe over and it will take that residue off a little more that's on the surface areas.
Lynn is asking whether you have to seal the Gilder's paste.
That is kind of debatable. You kind of hear some people say yes, and I've heard some people say no. I think it's a good idea, and there are different products you can use. Christie's Swalligant line has a clear sealer. Vintaj also has a clear sealer. Oops. So there, that's cute, guys. I'm liking that.
I like that too. Did you start with a copper part?
No, this is with the Swalligant, yes, I used a copper.
Okay.
So Vintaj and Swalligant both have a clear sealant. And I'm pretty darn sure you can use some with other materials. And then something like this would also work too. This is an acrylic adhesive. It's from the craft industry, but it works very well to just paint over something that you've put color on, and it dries clear, and it's a permanent sealer too. Works well on our metal stuff. I've used it before. Okay, so you can see that I got all the red down in there into the crevices, and I wiped it off a little bit. So that one I'm calling done. And now I want to try it. Should we use the same color? Oh, no, I'm going to use a different color, and I'm going to use this copper heart. And again, I'm going to dip my Q-tip, because you can see that this can of Gilder's paste is pretty dried out. So I'm just using some acetone to kind of soften it up. And I do have an exhaust fan running over in the window. I hope the sound is okay. Julie said it sounded all right earlier, but I do have an exhaust fan running so that I don't pass out from the acetone fumes. So I've got some of my Gilder's paste on my Q-tip, and I really want to try just kind of brushing it across the top of this one. I don't want to get into the crevices as much. There we go. Did I mention, I think I did, that I cleaned, yes, I did. I was telling you guys how I cleaned these with some acetone and then a little bit of water before I used them. And that's just to clean off any like hand oils or anything else that might be on the parts.
Somebody's saying, it's Chris, is saying that she uses Renaissance wax polish.
Yes, that is another one. Thank you for bringing that one up. That one is actually, I think, really recommended with Gilder's paste. So I like this too. I'm just being more sparing and wiping it over the high spots instead of getting it down in there like I did with the red. And then if I got too much in there, you know, if I got somewhere I didn't really want it, I could maybe go in with like my tweezers and just see if I can.
How long do you have till you have to wipe it off?
It starts kind of drying pretty quickly. So to fully let this dry, you probably want to leave it. I'm not sure what it says. Dries in 10 minutes to touch, 12 hours fully dry. And then after it's fully dry, then you can polish it. You could use a polishing cloth or even probably just a paper towel to shine it up. And then you may, like we were just saying, you may want to seal it up with some Renaissance wax or one of these other acrylic sealers.
We have a very good question from a viewer. Will the wax polish wipe off with wear?
Well, that's why we're talking about sealing it. if you want to make sure that that doesn't happen. Oh, you mean the Renaissance wax?
I think just in general.
Not sure. That is the recommended way to seal it. So, we could, boy, I'm very messy. We could assume someone did the research and that won't necessarily happen.
Mm-hmm.
So that is fun with Renaissance wax. I love it because it kind of you can get kind of a very rustic kind of approach with it. And I think this one was Renaissance wax that then any of these, something to note is when you're working with them, Vintaj sells these little kind of sanding blocks. They're very fine, kind of polishing surfaces. And they work great then to go in and take the color off of the higher points. You can see that that's what happened with this one. We really packed the color in there. And then I went in with a sanding block and cleaned it off all the surface areas.
So all of the parts you've just shown us are Gilder's paste, right?
Yes, the ones that are on this little tray are Gilder's paste.
Good.
And then you want to seal these babies back up good. They still will dry out after time, but you want to seal them up, make sure they're closed. Julie, this bracelet is called our Sweet Life bracelet, and it is on the website. Yep. I think I sent you a link for that.
You did.
Yeah, so Gilder's paste. I love it. It's fun. And the next one I want to show you guys is the Vintaj Patinas. And they are made by Vintaj, or they were developed by Vintaj, and then I think Ranger is who distributes them. And they come in a wide range of colors. I don't have that many to work with. But I did have some fun yesterday, just doing a couple little samples. I put some of the green and the blue on one of our botanical birds pendants. And then I was putting some on some of the Dulce Vita components too. So this is a much more paint-like, I think I want to use this one. It's a much more paint-like product.
That almost feels enamel, like a...
Yeah, it does. You do end up with a kind of a glossy finish, and it does have a sealer that they recommend for putting on it after. And the sealer also works as an extender. So if I wanted to put some of this, let me get a little piece of paper. Hold on. If I wanted to put some of this out on some paper or, a palette, and I didn't want to use it straight, maybe I wanted to make it so it was a little more of a wash instead of a, thinking and trying to demo at the same time. If I wanted it to be more of a wash than an opaque result, then I would use some of this extender to dilute it. And it's a water-based product. So, all of these things are easy cleanup. That's nice. But you don't want to use water to thin it. You want to use like their extender. And then after this one's dry, you would want to put a coat of these. And again, you'd want to let this sit for hours. Well, maybe not. It says allow 5 to 10 minutes to dry, but I don't think I would put the glaze on it for a little while. I would really let it sit. So this is the patinas, the Vintaj patinas with a little bit of a wash. A little bit of the extender in it to give it more of a wash effect. I do like that. Just kind of gives it a hint of color. And then if I wanted to put it on straight without diluting it or extending it, however we should put it, I would just use the patina straight, and you can see that that is a much more opaque, enamel-y type of effect. And then again, I could go in with a Q-tip and take some off of areas, or just let it dry and then use the little sanding block. I'm kind of being heavy-handed, taking some off, just because I want to see what it does. And I think that's too much. Might want to put some more back on there. Ooh, okay, idea. Let's mix colors. Let's try adding a little bit of this kind of turquoisey color. They call it verdigris. And I'm just rinsing my brush in water in between. Ooh, I'm gonna like this. And then I'm going in with my brush and some water and just going along the lines of the design to clear some of the patina out of those lines a little bit so we can see the detail. And the Vintaj Patinas, they also just come with a ton of colors. So you have a lot of fun with these. And obviously, as far as our parts go, our components that have a little more surface area and a little more detailed decoration, they respond pretty well. Deeper, I should say deeper decoration. So that's pretty fun. I like the mixed color on that one. And I still want to put some on this copper button. Let's go with this third green. It's called Jade. And I do want to really, I think, put this one on thick. And I'm going to let it dry, and then I'll use the sanding block in a little while to show you guys what will happen with that.
You are much neater with the Vintaj Patinas than you were with the Gilder's Paste.
Oh, thank you, I guess. The Gilder's Paste, because it's that kind of shoe polishy, waxy stuff. I'm sure you guys noticed that the little dried bits of it were just everywhere.
That was what I was talking about.
Yeah.
It wasn't your fault, Tracy.
Oh, thank you. I do try to be neat, but okay, so we're going to let that one dry, and we'll come back to this one and use the sanding block on it, or polishing block, whatever you want to call that. Right, next is the Colorique. And when Lisa Marie Jimenez is the the person who created these. And a few years ago, we sent her some samples of parts, and she sent us a few bottles of color, and she sent us all the samples back and like told me what she did with each one to create the color. So this one, the first one she said she put the color on there, and then she set it with an embossing gun, with a heat gun, which I guess is not necessary. It just speeds things along so you can dry it quicker. And then she used one of those, she calls them a nail block. So that thing we were just talking about that Vintaj has, these are also available in like the manicure world. So I guess nail block would be the right word for that. And it has different grits on the different sides. It's all very, very fine though. So anyway, she used one of those to take some of the surface color off of that. And then she also has a sealant that she sells with her products. So then the second one.
I really like that one.
Yeah, isn't that cute? Looks like
I like that she left a lot of the metal on it showing.
Right. Well, and there's different colors in here. So it's a gold button, and she looks like she used a yellow paint and a purple, and they blend really well is one of the things that she told us about this product. Oh. So she used a coat of this. I'm reading from her notes. She tells me what she does for each of the samples. So she did a second coat on this one so she could get more intense color. And then she set it with heat and used the nail block again to remove some color. And then she sealed it.
I really like that one.
It's really beautiful. Especially that it's such a high gloss seal. I wonder if she has more than one option for her sealer. If you can get it in like a more matte and gloss, or I'm not sure. I should have looked into that before I came on to demo it, huh?
I did a quick search for her and came up with a video done by Crafty Chica.
Uh-huh.
And I just love that lady so much. I'm going to pop that in for people to see her demoing.
Oh, fabulous. Because I want to watch it too.
Yeah, she's always fun.
Yeah. So this one, she just applied the coloring she said she used a very fine brush and just applied it into the design and then wiped away the color, the extra color from the surface areas. And then she just let it air dry. That's a nice approach. I really like that one.
That's subtle.
Let's see. This one just colored, buffed, and then sealed. No, not sealed, just colored and buffed. This one, she applied it to the entire piece and then wiped off the surface areas and then heat set it. And she did not put sealant on this one, so you can see it's just more of a matte. It's not on that side. Just more of a matte kind of paint effect. And then this one, again, she must have used very fine brushes just to put a little bit of color in the detailed areas of this piece. So those were Lisa's samples that she sent to us. And then I played with it yesterday, and it is also similar to Vintaj, but a little more, maybe slightly more opaque. Slightly more translucent. So I got a couple little parts I thought we'd try it on. I did play with some yesterday, and this does not, it's just air dried and just one coat. Although I do remember that I put quite a bit like to get that red to really cover well. And it finishes very nice. It's a little bit of a gloss. This one I just put some on very thinly to try and give it more of a translucent kind of wash.
I really like the translucence of this product.
I do too. This one was fun. Now it's all coming back to me, you guys. I'm like, what was I going to do? I don't remember. I love this one, and I'm not sure if I did this or if it came to us in her samples, but it's just some of the wash on and then kind of wiped off the surface area or the higher point of this, one of our wings. And I really, really like the way that looks. So I'm going to try and mimic that. And you can see that it is slightly thinner than the Vintaj Patinas. I could use a brush here too, but Q-tip seems to be working just fine. I love the way it's coming on. All right, I'm going to let that dry, I think, without wiping any off. Well, yeah, I don't want to wipe any off just yet because it feels like it needs a few minutes to just set up a little bit so that I don't lose too much of the color. And what I'm noticing this happening with this one is because it is a thinner product, it's kind of flowing down to the outer edges. And maybe that's all it took to give it this very dimensional look on the other wing. It's looking nice, I like it. Now I've got a clean Q-tip and I'm just gonna roll it a little bit. I like it. So again, with there's so many more colors than I've got here to work with, but I just imagine that I could really have a good time if I had a bigger array of the colors. So yeah, again, she says that she also, oh, and these you can use on metals, clay, ceramic, glass, and wood. Quick drying. If you want to really set it thoroughly, you hit it with a heat tool, and then you can use a sealer for maximum durability. And this is also just another water-based product, so you can just clean it up when you're done. I do want to play with maybe a little bit more before we set this one aside.
Boy, Dawn's puppies are yipping today.
Yeah, the window's open. You can hear Romeo.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, because I've got the fan running, so. Romeo's an escape artist. I call him Roaming Romeo. He has a pen. He has a pen that's right outside Dawn's office, but he finds a way out of that. And he's got a nice big yard to wander around in, you know, with a fence all the way around it. But man, he can find his way out of there. And I'll see him trotting by my office window and have to say, Dawn, Romeo escaped again. And he doesn't bark all the time. He only barks when Dawn is not in her office.
Interesting.
So it's like he's going, hey, come back. He's just calling for her. I like this product. It's similar to Vintaj, a little more translucent, really easy to use. Wish I had more colors. Oh, you know what I wanted to do? This is already done. And I think it's the kind of more pink color that's called Wisteria. Or no, it's called, the red is Wisteria. Oh, heck. Now I've forgotten. The colors on the bottles are a little deceiving. This isn't really a lavender. This is the pink. So this one is called Wisteria, and then the pink ice is actually quite red.
That's good to point out.
Yeah, I always want to maybe test your colors before you do your final project. I wanted to see about kind of layering a second color on this flower. That's kind of fun. It does look very enamelish. All right, so that is the Coloriques. I like it. Both the Vintage and the Colorique are very painterly. You could really just, you know, use a lot of different colors and have a lot of fun painting with those. The Gilder's Paste is a little less willing to do that. It's more, it seems to be better for just really surface applying it. Okay, so alcohol ink. Alcohol ink is a much thinner, more watery kind of product. So do I have any more little heart samples? I do. Let's put some on a heart. But with this example, what is fun about that is it kind of like can give you a water, because it's thinner, it can kind of give you a water effect, watercolor sort of effect. So with this one, I just put the blue and the green on and kind of let it blend together, and I nudged it along and I added a little more here and a little more there, and then I sprinkled it with water, and I thought that was fun. So it really, and I saw a demo, someone using the alcohol inks. It wasn't on metal, it was on something else, but she, this one's very stuck. She sprinkled, you know, she did a lot of those watercolor tricks where she sprinkled salt and she sprinkled, sorry, I need pliers. She sprinkled salt and she sprinkled something else on top of the wet paint to get some effects, and it was really very interesting, and she got some interesting effects. So it really does behave very much like a watercolor. See how thin that is compared to the Colorique and the Vintage. Oops, get a little mess on my hand. But, you know, that gives it more of a wash effect, which might just be exactly what you want, especially with these Dulce Vita parts.
I like it.
I like the way that's just barely tinting it.
Tracy Alden is asking how we would seal the alcohol ink on metal. And I'm imagining it's the same as the others.
I'm trying to remember. I looked it up.
Might have to
trying to remember what they said. Maybe it says on the bottle. These bottles have been around the shop for a little while, you guys. You can tell. Little trashed. They've had some leak action happening. Fast, transparent, acid-free, specially formulated for vibrant, polished effect on non-porous surfaces. They have, you can lighten, blend, and remove the colors with alcohol blending solution. You can intermix. It does not say anything about needing to seal them. And it did say in there to use an alcohol kind of solution for thinning and cleaning. I think that I have used acetone on this one as well. And unfortunately, I didn't bring any alcohol in with me. So I can't test that. Ooh, the acetone really takes it off though. So The whole thing with the alcohol inks is it really is more of a translucent kind of wash. I want to do one of these, how I showed you guys this demo I did, sorry, the example I did with the blue and the green. I want to just do that one for you. So I'm just going to drop a little bit of blue here and there. And I do want to be careful. See what just happened? Those two dots just completely blended together. I was just going to say, I want to be careful that that doesn't happen. And it happened while I wasn't even looking. So I'm going to give it just a few seconds before I add the second color.
Tracy Alden says that she's seen people use UV resin over alcohol inks, but she was just wondering if there was a way to seal it without the extra bulk.
It is true that a UV resin is not recommended. I'm using the same brush I've been using, guys, and there's a little bit of red in it, and I don't want that. I rinsed it, but apparently not well enough. A UV resin, from my experience, if I remember correctly, you don't want to use anything water-based with it.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
And this is not. This is alcohol-based. So I imagine that that would work just fine.
I wonder if one of those sealers that you were talking about earlier would work. She's
I don't know.
for something that isn't going to make a real the extra bulk on the top, like probably something that's not so visible.
Right. Well, like this one is an acrylic adhesive. It seems like it would be fine to just use on top of the alcohol ink. So now I've got my colors on there. I don't have any salt, but I could just sprinkle a little water on it and see what happens. Just to see if it'll give it a little bit of movement and nice effect. And I want, oops, I don't want the black. I do want a teeny bit more blue on there, I think.
So we've got a viewer saying that Krylon makes Camar varnish spray, and that it's a fabulous way to seal alcohol inks on any surface.
Oh, great suggestion. Thank you. Thank you. It's the Krylon.
Yeah, Krylon Camar, or yeah, Camar varnish aerosol spray. They say many spray sealers are alcohol based, which causes the color to move.
Right. So you don't want that. So that's fun. I like the way this came out a lot.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess in theory, since this is alcohol based, it should hold up okay, you know, if exposed to water. But if you go out drinking, wearing this bracelet, don't spill alcohol on it. I'm totally making that up, but it seems like it could be a risky thing. So this one with the alcohol ink that we put on earlier, it's not completely dry, but dry enough for demo purposes. I'm going to go in with the sanding block and just bring up some of the higher points a little bit. That's very fun. I like that a lot. Pretty. All right, so that's the alcohol ink. Also very easy to use. Should have rubbing alcohol on hand for cleaning and or removing it, say you wanted to remove it from the piece and start again. How's our time? Oh, time flies when you're having fun, you guys. I was tempted there for a second to play a little more with this big tree pendant, but I don't think we have time. So that's the alcohol ink. Very fun. All right, so we wanted to come back to the Swelligant and see what was happening with our pieces. So I think this is the one that I just did, and you can see that it's starting to change. It's starting to do the copper kind of verdigris effect. The blue didn't do anything but turn it blue. So that is also a possibility. I haven't really tested that. That was the dioxide type of formula as opposed to the patina. Oops, not that one. This one, as opposed to the patina. So I should get my hands on some more colors of this and play with it on some of our other finishes besides the copper. It seems like it might have more potential, and it seems almost like it's a bit of an alcohol ink kind of effect.
Hey, we have a couple questions, Tracy. Kathy wondered if the Ranger alcohol inks have a strong smell.
They do smell a little bit alcohol-y. But again, I have my fan running. Anytime you're using like stuff like this and adhesives, it's really good to have an exhaust fan going. So I didn't really notice it so much, but she is right. It has an alcohol-y kind of smell.
And
so
then
these
earlier, and Lynn, it was Lynn, wondered if that you would put on this part in front of you there, the green gilder's paste on the chain also.
On this pair of earrings?
Yeah.
No, there's nothing on the chain. It's some copper chain, and it's some of our antique silver chain.
Okay.
So I could keep adding, the results are very subtle. I think that it takes time for that kind of patina effect to develop. So they may look more interesting by the end of the day. And I think I can also go in and put additional stuff on to get more effect. So, here. So the Swelligant is a work in progress. This one is the button I put the Vintaj patina on, and I wanted to give that a few minutes to dry and then come at it with the nail block is what Lisa called it. I'm not sure what Vintaj calls it, just the polishing block. So I'm just kind of hitting the high points of the metal to bring the copper up. And you do want to be careful with this. This is a sanding type of surface, and our parts are plated. So if you wouldn't want to sand and sand and sand and sand and rub away the plating, it would take some effort to do that, but still you want to be gentle. Well, this is very fun. So I could just add this, guys, until I really had it the way I wanted it. It is pretty much all the high points that I can get the color off. I pretty much hit, I think. So I probably wouldn't want to do too much more. And I like the effect of this. I really am going to have to go shopping and just buy more colors. So I think that's it, you guys.
Bravo.
I'm going to switch my camera back. So there you go. Some coloring options for our pewter parts. You can see that there's a lot of fun to be had, I really meant to put some of that Gilder's paste on this finished bracelet, Julie, but it probably would have been messy. I don't know how successful I would have been. Some of the little hearts.
Get a photo of all these parts that you did and post it on Instagram.
I'll do that. I'll take a picture and maybe I'll, oops. This was fun. I did like the blending of the alcohol inks. I'll do that, and I'll make a note somehow which products were on which part, so that people can remember which was which. So, any other questions or comments?
Oh, let me see here. Well, let's see. Tracy Alden said, "Thank you, Tracy, for all the inspiration."
Oh, Tracy's probably pretty knowledgeable since she works with CHA. So,
yeah, and with the Vintaj Patina, you can add another color. If the first color is dry, then the colors will not mix. Photograph said that, and Marika says, "Awesome demo, thank you."
I liked it. I'm a little messy, but I liked it.
You're in your wheelhouse there. I could see it.
I know. I was having a good time. So now I have serious cleanup to do. And I'll do that, Julie. I'll take pictures of all the samples we did, and I'll make a note of what I used, and then we'll post those on Instagram. And that's all I got. So thank you, you guys, as always, for joining us and watching our demo. And it'll be on YouTube. I'll get it loaded up to YouTube by the end of the week. Although why you need to watch it on both Facebook and YouTube, I don't know. But it will be there, and we'll figure out what we're going to do for next week, and we'll post it on Saturday. So thanks, you guys.
See
you next time.